Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a few more people coming in.
Recording in progress.
Deb, we have some reverberation.
Somebody has
their
play still open. They need to
still
close their
open,
play.
close their play.
Let's see how it sounds now. Okay, has everybody closed the play? Try this again. Oh. Can everybody mute themselves? Let's try it again. Okay, that's better. Let's try it again. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Still letting a few people in. We had some sound issues tonight. I hope that you guys were able to still hear the show. It was a little echoey, but everything could be heard. Were you okay with the sound tonight? I know it was on our end. We were working furiously during the show to make everything as best that it could be. And I was very grateful that we could see the words. So did you hear the show and everything? Okay, good. Kenisha, I don't see Dana here tonight, right? Are you representing the group tonight?
Yeah, yeah. I think maybe she has something,
Okay.
a conflict, but she might pop up. We're just
Okay. So I want you to know we had a lot of emails today, about 40 altogether, of people who were not able to come on tonight. So we just had a tremendous amount of people that are going to be watching it later, Kenisha. So so I want you to know we still have a lot of people that are going to be watching the show. So oh my goodness, what a powerful piece.
Oh, thank you.
Talk to us, Kenisha. Tell us about the show.
Yeah,
We want to hear
sure.
from you.
Yeah, sure. So Dana and I, Dana used to be a therapist. And so she has a lot of documentation from the people that she used to give therapy to as well. And so some of those stories come from that, and then some of it comes from our personal lives. And so we kind of blended it all into a story that was very personal on both parts of us. So I think Dr. Myers, we wouldn't say it represents Dana, but it kind of her therapist background, essentially, right? And then for myself, Justice is a very personal story as well. Not everything in there is actually my own personal experience, but definitely some of it is intertwined in there. And so, yeah, we focus on primarily telling a story about women at the end of the day. Like we might come from different backgrounds, we might have different beliefs, different religions, etc. But at the end of the day, we are still women. And that was really what that piece for us was about. Yes, we addressed different race as well, racial issues as well. But at the end of the day, it was just two women talking about their lives, even though it was very different. But yeah, so that's the idea of the play. I wanted the people to walk away realizing that it's okay to have these differences. And I think that's important to show. But yeah, so the idea.
I was moved to tears. I don't know if anybody else was, but I thought it was so beautiful. Even listening to you talk now, I feel my eyes welling up. The end when you said the show has been dedicated to those that have been silenced. Oh,
Mhm.
tell me, let me hear from those in the audience. Tell me what you thought. So just unmute yourself or just raise your hand and let's start with Beth.
I
Beth,
didn't want it to end. I didn't think it was over, which was frustrating. But I realized once I saw the end, it really was. And I have to say that although we're talking about the fact that we had some difficulties hearing part of it, for me, the silences that the two actors had spoke volumes. Just brilliant.
Thank you.
It was very cathartic listening to it. Was highly relatable, particularly when she talked about taking up space. I remember my mother telling me the same thing. So I really appreciated it. It was very cathartic, and I really liked Ruth, who played Dr. Myers.
Mhm.
Her portrayal was the empathy was definitely there. So I saw two women having the conversation, but it very much, the representation was definitely there. So if that's what you're going for, that's what I got from it. It
Okay,
was
good.
really well done.
Thank you. Mhm.
thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Sherry, you had a comment?
I just really love the way the images from real life were mixed
Mhm.
in there. It just really gave a power to them, I think. And I felt like the same thing that Beth was saying with the pauses and so many of these similar conversations that I've had over this past year. And were there any moments of the play that you needed to kind of warn your parents about? Because I felt like it was just so personal. I love that idea, and then when the great actors, you can't tell the difference, but it really just seems so personal. You don't have to give it away, but I'm just wondering if you had to have that conversation with your parents.
We did, because some of the images are actually images from my family. So there is some, like I said, some of that is quite very personal. And I would share that the letter at the end that Justice's mother reads, that's actually a letter that my mother gave to me when I went off to college. So it's like, it's a blended of a lot of things. But yeah, so some things were very personal, and I asked my mother if was it okay to, share the letter? Was it okay to use some of the images from my family? So yeah. Mhm.
Can you imagine if every young girl had a letter like that written?
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, that's
You
just
know.
beautiful. That makes me cry. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking
Yeah.
of images, one of the images that really caught me was when you talked about spinning. You were just spinning, and then when you stopped, you would just wade in it.
Mhm.
That also spoke volumes, I think.
Yeah.
Great imagery. Deb, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say two things. I really loved the part of not dimming your light, because my
Mhm.
mom has said that to me before.
Mhm.
And at the very end, when the quote came in and it ended with the words "no justice," that was just like, oh my God, that is just so freaking brilliant. I really enjoyed this. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
You're
Mhm.
welcome.
Yeah, I liked it when you said, I do dim myself, or we do dim ourselves, or something like that, and it's just like, yeah, as much as we work toward shining our light and stuff, it's kind of sometimes easy to get back into that,
Yeah, it
of
is.
dimming, it's constant, trying to. Kenisha, I'm sorry, I
No,
were
I
getting
was
ready to
just
say
agreeing with
something.
you. I was like, yeah, it's very common. I think a lot with women in general, we have a tendency to dim our lights, just because, we're told to, I wouldn't say all the time be silent, but not to take up too much space, right? Not to be too loud, go to proper classes. But it's like, my mom used to go to those classes where, elegant, what are the things they used to do back in the 50s and 60s? I can't remember. They used to go to a proper school, like a school where they teach.
Etiquette.
Yeah,
Etiquette.
etiquette school. They used to do that.
Mhm.
And then we're taught like to just be this perfect image like all the time, and you can't just have your space to be who you are. And so yeah, a lot. It speaks volumes to everyone. I feel like, because sometimes women, we do dim our light to please everyone. So yeah.
We
So
we have a Girl Stories Leadership Theater program, Kenisha. We have about 40 to 50 girls that we serve all year round. And we chose to serve middle school girls. And that's a conversation we have with them all the time, is how to shine bright, shine brightly, shine brightly. They've written songs about how we need to use our voice and shine brightly. We hope that if we get to them as early as middle school, I mean, it needs to be even earlier than that, but middle school is when we get them, that they can go into high school and beyond and just have that sense, a little bit more of centeredness and my voice is important.
yeah, it's very important.
Janice, are you there? Do you want to talk? I know you don't have the video on.
Yes, I have a question for you, Kenisha. I would love to know, do you have a favorite line or phrase from the script?
Yeah, I do. Um, I think it's in the beginning where I was making fun of the whole therapy. What is it? Well, Black people really don't do therapy. I think it's hilarious. That line to me was hilarious because yeah, it's true. Like sometimes in the African American culture, we have a tendency to kind of shine away from therapy, but it's very important to have a good sense of how you are mentally, and that's very important. So yeah, that to me was my favorite line, just because I just thought it was humorous. But yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it take you and Dana to write this?
This is kind of was just the way that we did it was very interesting. We kind of had a little conversation about it, and then we start doing a Google Doc, and we just start writing it out. Kind of had an outline, and then we start putting in pieces here and there, and that's how it came about. And so it probably took about a week, 2 weeks maybe, to kind of really get a good sense of it. And then we kind of filled in some other parts. And I was like, okay, great, we'll add more of this and we add more of that. But yeah, the whole process took about two weeks, because we just had a very clear vision of like what we really wanted. Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to go from here with this piece?
So we're actually in another festival, which would be in January, February, something like that. So we'll be able to be doing a live virtual performance of it, which is really great. And then actually the show got picked up by Coalescence Theater, which they're doing a project there that's called Black Lives, Black Words. And so they actually have different actors doing it. So I'm not participating or anything like that. So it'd be really great to see it. So they'll be performing the piece for that, and it's going to actually be published in their anthology as well. So yeah, it's really cool. We're excited about it. And so that's what we're doing now. And we don't know what else might come out of it, but yeah. We talk about maybe we want to copyright it at some point as well. And that was an idea as well. So we'll just see.
I would love to show this to our Girl Stories Leadership Theater program.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
They're actually meeting on Saturday. So at the theater. So
that'd be great. Yeah, definitely. We would love to hear what they would have to say about it.
Yeah,
Maybe different.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Young voices, they have a lot on their minds. They have a lot to say.
They do. They really do. I used to teach. Well, I taught middle school for just a little bit. It was my favorite group. But yeah, they're very interesting middle schoolers. Just a very interesting time for them. Mhm.
Margaret, I see that you have joined us. Do you have anything that you want to add or anything that you want to comment on? You need to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
I left the face off, you know. We don't do therapy. And the therapist, like, but, oh, yes, of course you do. And the beginning of the polarity, and then each side gives just a little bit. There's a little more understanding. There's a little more true sharedness. And I thought you did a really beautiful piece.
Thank you.
The end.
Okay.
I had to let my puppy out. She was whining. So
Um,
that's why I muted myself. Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that. Does anyone else have any other comments they want to make? I'm going to be thinking about this all night as I go to sleep tonight. I'll be thinking about it in the morning and for days. I thought it was very impactful. Very, very, very impactful. And I can't wait for the rest of the people that bought festival passes to watch it. A lot of them, have already contacted me, as I've said. Any other final comments?
Yeah, I just want to
Yes.
say, Kenisha and Dana, congratulations to you both. I mean, it literally hit every point, because I will say 2020 was a really rough year, obviously, for a lot of people.
mhm.
I think you really touched on a lot of points that the youth can really relate to. I saw that you put in the talk in there. Like, that's an important piece. There isn't a part that I can't say was not important for us to hear. And it was beautifully articulated by both you and Ruth. Both actresses, I think, like, hit the message to where it wasn't offensive, but it was very real. And I really appreciated that, because that is, to me, I felt that something like that would be difficult to convey, but you hit it like you did just right. I really have a lot of respect for that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
What were some other favorite sayings that you guys heard in there? I've got a couple written down. Any other favorite sayings that you heard? Phrases?
We need to acknowledge this change. White people are upset, but guilt is not the same as advocacy.
Hello, that's one that I wrote down.
That's
Yeah.
something
That's
I
one
wrote.
that I wrote down.
Mhm. That was deep.
Sherry. Unmute.
There we go. Sorry. One of the ones that was really powerful for me, I just wanted to say no. I don't remember it exactly, but about, sometimes I would rather just choose to be silent, or I think that that's easier. But I just feel like, we all have to really stand up now. If I just keep thinking, if not now, when, we all have to really be active. But I do worry that a lot of people feel that way.
Right.
It was powerful.
Thanks.
I love all the descriptive words about stars.
Mhm.
I wrote a lot of those down. I'll go back and listen to them again. Thought they were just beautiful, and I love the way the therapist talked about a star is made up of many stars. That was very interesting, so. Lori, we haven't heard from you. Are you there? Do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, thank you. It was wonderful. And I think that it was fabulous. And then there was a way in which it brought to mind for me that part of what our culture has done is encourage white people to not see all the things that your play was encouraging the therapist to see. And that is a handicap of the way the culture hobbles anyone from taking action, because the first step is this basically having the curtain pulled back, and then people being actually unprepared for all of that they see because it's been covered over. The culture encourages people to not acknowledge what's actually happening or what has happened or what the participation of people's families in any atrocities or covering them up. And so that's a handicap of the therapist, that even though she says, oh, I never thought of it that way, that and as a lesbian, my experience was that I would basically have those conversations when I was coming out with my family, and they would basically say that they didn't see what I was saying and none of it could be true. And I was saying about my own personal truth. So your character is talking about her personal truth and the whole cultural problems associated with her experience and the experience of people being Black in America. And there's so much work that any person who's been living with the privilege of a white appearing skin doesn't have to do. So there's so much, anyway, that's what it brought to mind, that there's so much work to do, and your play has done an excellent job in such a short period of time of opening the eyes of the viewer. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I thought it was interesting that the therapist had to apologize, for not knowing. But how could she know? She's lived in this other world completely. And I mean, on some level, it was the only thing she knew how to do, but it's part of her upbringing that she is that ignorant and doesn't know. And I find that to be an interesting place for her to have to be.
Okay. So you want to know why she apologized?
Well, I mean, I think out of her heart, she wants to apologize. And that's kind, and that's establishing some rapport, maybe. But, she was taught to be totally ignorant of all of this. And wasn't she? How would she know?
I wouldn't say like she was taught to be totally ignorant towards it. I just think she just wasn't aware of it. And I think that's what happened. So for us, that, the therapist was supposed to empathize as much as possible. So some of it's like I had conversations I went to a PWI, which is like a predominantly white institution. So I had a lot of conversations like that while I was there. And some people that's all they could say sometimes was to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it doesn't even have to necessarily be about race. It's like sometimes when you have a conversation with someone that you haven't experienced that. Like I've never lost my mother, but if I talk to someone that lost their mother and they're like in distraught, all I can say is like, I'm sorry for your loss. Like there's nothing else I could say. So for Dr. Myers, I think that's just was the best thing she could say for her at that time was like, I'm sorry, like I will never know that experience, but how you're describing it, I feel for you. So that's how we were looking at it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I agree that is a way to connect. It's
well, another way they connected, which I think we could go on for another couple of hours, most of us, is when she said, your mother is proud. And the retort was something like, no, she's just damn stubborn. I'm not sure. And then she said, so my mother is also proud. And I thought that was an interesting way for the two of them to get that connection through their mothers.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
And you could feel it in that moment.
Yes.
yes.
It was a really strong connection.
Mhm.
And I don't know what my deal with the apology is. It's just that I like what you said, Beth, that about that other connection, because that was, it seemed to me a deeper one. It seemed to be a more intimate one, a real, like, we two can relate over this.
Mhm.
Well, and I think that I think that your play does a wonderful job of, in my opinion, using the therapist as a call to action for white people, because yes, arguably, we have not been exposed to certain things because of, school systems and how we were taught. And I work in the school system, by the way. But to me, now we also have a responsibility to recognize, yes, I know there's stuff that I don't know, but I need to find out, right? Like it should not be the burden of people in my life who are people of color to fill in the gaps for me. It's my job. I mean, that's part, to me, it's part of acknowledging white privilege, is to say I have been sheltered. So what am I going to do about that to make myself fully aware so that I can show up for justice the way I need to show up?
Mhm. Mhm.
What's on your mind, Kenisha?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay.
I'm always
Okay.
thinking. Mhm. Mhm.
Beth, you were right. We could go on for hours to have these discussions. Your video is such a great springboard for talk.
Mhm.
talk. And that's what I think is so great about it, that I'm sure you're going to be showing it to a lot of places, and a lot of people are going to have open dialogues about it. At Powerstories, we love showing things that open minds and hearts, and your play absolutely hit the nail on the head with that. It opens minds and hearts, and we thank you for that.
Thank you. Mhm.
Absolutely. And please extend our gratitude to Dana for all the work that she did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And I'm open for other comments or other dialogue if anyone has any. We don't have to end. Anybody else have a comment that needs to be said or is important to be said? I thank you then for your time, and I thank you for using your gifts. As a playwright, you can be a change agent. As an actor, you can be a change agent. You have that power to write something and get it out there. And we want to be a platform to get your works out there. So you use your gifts, we'll use ours, and we can all do our part to make this a better world. So thank you
Before
so
we
much.
want to get everybody's picture. Everybody say cheese and smile at your dot on your computer. 1, 2, 3. Let me just check it, make sure everybody's eyes is open.
Okay.
You've got such the prettiest smile, Kenisha.
Well, thank you.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much
Great.
for honoring this
you.
play tonight and for giving us your wisdom. And thank you, Kenisha.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.